Thank you for staying with us. And we're heading to the papers now. I begin with the Saturday Punch. And we have some interesting stories on the papers this morning. We have kingmakers now consult pastors, not Ifa, to select kings. Oba Oluyede speaking. And then another story, unmarried men shouldn't eat from spinsters after fasting. Islamic cleric is also speaking on that. A lucrative war, how artists' rivalries fuel conflict, boost revenue. And over 5,000 people killed in Benue within 7 years. A commissioner in the state is also speaking. I know we have some ladies here, stories here, ladies. Honeypot, let me begin with you.
All right, so I'll start with this one. Unmarried men shouldn't eat from spinsters after fasting. So, of course...
I know that will interest you.
There are rules to these things, and that is what the cleric is trying to say. And is asking the question, that means if, the spinster is cooking for the boyfriend, where are you? Like, where are you at that point fasting? That means perhaps you're living together, which is not supposed to be. And so it was just saying that, there is a certain discipline that comes with dating. And when you're dating, you have to take precautions of some things because you're not yet married. And so, you can't be fasting and then the spinster is cooking for the boyfriend. Like, it is not just done.
Invariably, he would not get the blessings of the fast. That's what he's trying to say.
Of course. That is what this translates to.
All right, Dami, your story.
So, story I want to take there is the conversation.
Kingmakers now consult pastors, yeah.
So, that was an interview about Oluyede of Alayede at Agbede, Akure North. He granted that interview. So, he talked about the fact that back then, when they want to coronate a new king, the process was to, every family would send in their names and they would all consult the Ifa oracle. Then, before they consult the Ifa oracle, there will be some sort of, let me use the word audition, where they tend to see if they're good, if they're fine. Then the elders of the house would actually consult the oracle to know, okay, this particular person, what are the prospects, what are the things that would, what are the blessings that comes with this particular person if coronated the king. But these days, it's not that way anymore. Most times, they've let that whole process. Most people would consult with pastors to know, okay, who is going to be the next king? And it feels like tradition is lost when it comes to coronating new kings. So
that's quite an interesting one.
It's an interesting one.
Tradition is now looking to the Christianity and all of it to get who to decide who becomes the king, because some have even said that we should be talking about tradition now, taking up our tradition. This is being eroded and all of that because we embrace Christianity. And we see some kings now going to churches, unlike what we used to see before. Some persons are pastors who are now coronated as kings, so that we are losing our value traditionally.
In fact, sometimes when they want to do like traditional coronation or any kind of traditional festivity, there's always a church service to attach to it. So probably when they are done with the traditional rites, they would also go to church before they now do the reception at a particular place. So I think it's just a blend or a mix of both.
I think it has always been a blend, and I just think that people just frown at it because I could remember one period like that. You had people in certain places, like the Ogbonis will go to church with their shaki, and that is like, that's attire that they have, like,
they put on their shoulders.
They put on their shoulders, and so Christianity frowned at it. So, they had to do a sort of reform, like you can't be entering the church, but they feel like they can always just go to do their own thing, and then on Sundays they come to church.
So one sad story here, over 5,000 people killed in Benue within 7 years, and it was the Commissioner for Information in the state that was speaking in an interview. Recall that in recent times we've seen increased attacks in Benue State, and even the governor had to come out to speak, as at, I think, last week or upper week, where he said that about 130-something persons were killed in an attack within 5 days. And so they've been calling on government to do something, especially with regards to the attacks on the IDPs in the state, that these people actually left their home because of these attacks. And now they are in the IDP, they are being attacked again. So they have to look at how to resettle them and to get back on their feet in the coming days. So let's quickly move now to the Nation newspaper. And we see some stories here. Time magazine reporter locks Twitter account after threats from, wow, interesting. All right, Uzodinma wins Ododo favored. All right, these are some political stories that we cannot take as it is. But does anyone have any story inside the Nation newspaper?
Yes, so I have a story on The Nation. That's human traffickers go wild as UK-based Madam writes Nigerian shrine and vows to destroy victims. So we know a lot of people are relocating out of the country, either by school route or by work. So this particular lady, her name is Osakare. So she got this offer. She was a POS person in Nigeria, that she should relocate out of the country. So she relocated out of the country. And the agreement was when she gets to Dubai, she would always pay 5 million. She would pay 5 million in total. So the woman paid for her flight while she paid for her passport. And on getting to Dubai, she asked around and everyone said that it was 3 million they were going to pay back. And she told the woman, it's not convenient paying 5 million. I'll pay 3 million. The woman said, the madam said it was agreed that she was going to pay 5 million. So she said weekly there was a certain amount she was paying. I think she was paying 100,000 or 200,000 every week. And later she realized work wasn't coming on the street. It wasn't easy. And she told this woman that, okay, I can't pay this amount. Then the woman wrote a letter in her name to Ayelala and told her. Legit, they gave the letter to her father, legit wrote a letter and said that, me, Oga, Madam, something, and I'm writing this to Osakare that she's going to swear and that she has been in in Dubai for 2 years, and she hasn't paid up all she's supposed to pay. So she's going to swear with Ayelala on her life. I'm like, this is wild.
Really wild.
Wow.
Really wild. You know, some people just think that it's going to be easy when you leave Nigeria, when you get out there. If you don't have plans, especially if you don't have people there, it's not as easy as you think. And then we realize that a lot of persons now take advantage of these people. Okay, you are desperate to leave. I am there. I can help you out, but there are rules.
And there are ridiculous amounts that for these people to pay.
Yes.
Very, very ridiculous.
It's just unfortunate.
Really, someone was saying something that there's a difference between relocation and japa, which is true. So on Twitter, someone was saying that relocation is when you have like a plan of what you want to do. Japa is just when you want to leave.
You want for survival.
Desperate to leave, but then surviving there is even more difficult.
Because the streets of those places are not paved in gold.
Absolutely.
You have to work.
You have to work. All right, let's move now quickly to Saturday Sun. All right. We need to quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue with the newspaper review. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. You're still watching the weekend edition of Your View, and I still have the ladies in the studio. We're looking through the newspaper headlines, and we're moving to the Saturday Sun. Some stories here. Kanu's detention causes ripples in UK. IPOB leaders' health worsens, and DSS facility says lawyer. And then Ogun herbalist, I boggled hospital to fulfill lifelong ambition of owning plasma TV. All right, Rivers property worth millions destroyed as fire raises market. Kidnappers on the loose again. Banditry abduction for ransom resurface after election. And we have another story. UNICEF bemoans fate of 96 Chibok girls 9 years after abduction. Says kids in the Northeast continue to suffer consequences of conflict. And then we have this story. One body recovered from collapsed Lagos building. I think I will begin with that story. Recall that some days ago, that should be on Thursday. Yes, a building collapsed in Banana Island. And it was said that when it happened, a majority of the workers were lucky they escaped. But some persons were working on the 6th floor of the building, and so they were trapped inside the rubble. But the Emergency Management Agency of Lagos State was able to rescue about 7 of them. As at Friday, they said nobody was, there was no victim, and that they had gotten to the last level, so to speak. That was the information we're getting, and then they did not allow journalists to go in again, as it was no longer a risk, so to speak, and since there was no casualty. But coming up this morning, we're seeing that the the developing story is that one body was recovered from the collapsed building, which is quite a sad story coming out of there, because one would expect that a place like Banana Island
should follow the rules.
Honeypot.
Yes.
Yes, one would expect that they would follow the rules, because even the Lagos State government has said that they did not get the necessary documentation for that building. So one is wondering, how were they able to raise that building to that level?
And nobody said anything.
And nobody said anything until it collapsed. So it's quite a sad developing story there.
So Jumoke Ademowa, I don't know if anyone knows her on social. She's like a renowned architect in Nigeria. So she posted something a few days ago about this particular case. And one of the things she said that I can remember is that most times clients get what they pay for, in the sense that when you tell a contractor comes to tell you that this is the amount we need for these projects. Let's say it's billions of naira, and you're saying this is what we can afford. Just do it. Like this is what the budget is. That is where you see some people go and do like substandard products and all that. Even the problem is not just even from the contractor. Just paraphrasing from what she said, is also from the clients coming to meet the contractors when they tell them this is the amount we're going to use, but they're also trying to cut costs and say this is the amount we have for things for this particular building, and let's look for a way around cut cost and all of that.
I think everybody should just be responsible. Contractors, if the client is saying this to you, if you're a contractor, you would not say that because of the money. I think everybody should just be responsible, because it is the lack of responsibility that actually, because you want to do the job. You still want to do the job as the contractor, but you know the truth. But then you go ahead to get substandard, materials to build the house. And sometimes it's not even only about the materials that you buy. I think it is also about, okay, you know that in this area, you're not supposed to build perhaps a skyscraper, and then you actually still insist on building. There are so many factors
to get approval.
You have to get approval as you build, and there are so many things that are wrong. And as you said, cutting corners. And, I know that Lagos State has been doing a lot, because there are some times that you would report a particular building and then it will be cordoned off, and then, they bring it down because... And sometimes you just see a house that is already bent, and you know that in no time, this house will collapse. So
I think this same thing happened last year too at Banana Island,
Ikoyi building.
Yes, so and it's happening again at Ikoyi. I think there should be some sort of conversation, like regulatory bodies should actually look into this, because why exactly is it happening just in Ikoyi? Because everybody is migrating there, everybody wants to build skyscrapers there. What is happening exactly? Like, why is it happening there over and over again?
Who has any story here?
Okay, yes, I do have a story. And UNICEF mourns the fate of 96 Chibok girls 9 years after. And they are actually reiterating the protection of children in Nigeria. There is a need for that. And it's just so sad that 9 years after, out of 276, 276 schoolgirls abducted in the middle of the night, and we're yet to find these girls.
They're no longer girls. If we add 9 years to their age.
You're correct. So, 9 years. That's a long time. And look at what is happening. It's just so pathetic.
Yes.
I mean, to say the least.
It's because of the parents.
That happened. Like, it's very easy to forget, because a lot of things are happening. And I know when the Chibok girls, when all of this happened, everyone was talking about it. It was all over social.
We saw the hashtag, bring back our girls. We saw the momentum. And then all of a sudden, we're caught in the mix of so many issues. And so that momentum has dropped, so to speak. But these girls are still there. Their parents, some of their parents are still alive. Something has to be done to bring them back.
It will actually translate to everybody fails these girls at the end of the day.
That's it. I agree with you. I agree with you. So there's this ridiculous story here. I call it ridiculous though, because the Ogun herbalist who boggled the hospital to fulfill his lifelong ambition of having a plasma TV. Now, he and his tenant, obviously, means he has a house. He said he's been going around that place. He's a herbalist. He's been going around that place to get leaves for his practice. And then he looked into that hospital, which is yet to be commissioned in Ikoyi in Ogun State. And so he found out that there were a stack of TVs, plasma TVs there. So he connived with his tenant to get in there and steal one of the TVs because he was trying to fulfill a lifelong ambition of owning a plasma TV. That's ridiculous.
Very.
Ridiculous. Plasma TV? An ambition? I mean, is this an expression of how poor we have become? Because when you look at the numbers that was given, over 100 million Nigerians, about 130 million Nigerians under multidimensional poverty. And a lifelong ambition is owning a plasma TV.
I think it just reflects back
it's just sad.
to the poverty index in the country. Like, it just, like, it's a plasma TV. I don't want to speak like a privileged person because...
Right, that's another aspect.
I don't want to speak, so I'll just rather just say, because I also have my own lifelong ambition.
Right.
And somebody can listen and say, really, what's that?
But do you have to steal?
You don't have to steal.
See.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
That is not an ambition.
It's not exactly.
It is actually lack of contentment. Yes. Stealing is stealing. You're taking something that does not belong to you. You are a thief.
For a hospital that is going to help everyone in that community, a mother and child hospital, then you go and steal the TV. Okay, let's move forward. Now we'll move to the Saturday Vanguard. And the major story here, bill to curb doctors' brain drain. Doctors plan court action. Lawyers back them. And another story here, Tiwa Savage escapes kidnap attempt. Suspects arrested. Another story, 13% derivation, South lawmakers gullible palace before governors. Who has what story here?
All right, so I have the one of Tiwa Savage. Tiwa Savage put out yesterday, was all over the social media, that security was breached at her residence. And, she said that arrest has been made. They are at, I think, Alagbon Police Station, according to the story. Yes, it's Alagbon Police Station. So she said she's safe, but it was an attempt to kidnap, something of that sort. And so she's saying that arrest has been made, and that was what her management put out.
But she has to ask questions. How was it possible?
Of course, so they are going to, this arrest is going to make them ask questions, because she said
So there's
all
been
the
a
people that are
compromise.
suspected
Yes.
have been
That can't
Yes.
happen without someone within
Yes, yes.
giving room for that to
You're
happen.
correct. You're correct.
Right. It's sad. It's
I
an
want to talk
unfortunate
about the
one.
doctor's story.
Yes.
So we know, like a few days ago, story broke around the bill that was passed by Ganiyu Johnson, stating that doctors should actually work for 5 years in Nigeria before relocating out of the country, before they get their license to practice, and before they relocate out of the country, because a lot of doctors are relocating. There's a high numbers of doctors relocating. So the NMA president, Dr. Uche Ojima, has stated that the bill is dead on arrival. Also, lawyers are saying they are going to back them. That rather than push out something like this, saying that doctors should stay in the country for 5 years because they are enjoying taxpayers' money when they are doing their training, they should talk about the fact that we have 1 doctor to 5,000 people. We have 1 doctor to 9,000 people in rural areas. We even have 1 doctor to about 10,000 people at IDP camps and places that are affected. And they should talk about the low pay of doctors, the reasons why doctors are relocating. They should talk about the fact that they need to pay them well. They need to look into the hospitals, provide facilities for them, provide infrastructures to make doctors stay, rather than say that you want to force them to stay in the country to practice for 5 years before you give them their license. This story is all shades of everything wrong in the country. Because, first off, the biggest beneficiaries of taxpayers' money are the politicians, like the guys at the House of Reps. So coming now to say that because doctors are benefiting from, we should benefit from taxpayers' money because we are paying the tax. Yes, they should. So it's not a reason to keep them in the country. And also, it's just, and we have most of all our politicians traveling out of the country to receive treatment. So the major problem is, why travel out first if you know your home is tight? Why would you travel out to receive treatment, right? And they say there's brain drain within doctors in Nigeria. So if there's brain drain, let's make sure that we are up to international standards so that doctors would, nobody wants to relocate to become a second-class citizen in another person's country.
Absolutely.
If everything here is working, they would not relocate. So the major thing is, it's not about forcing them to stay. People would be in the country, relocate and go and study medicine outside, and have plans to not come back to the country again. So the major thing is, let's fix. In fact, the bill that should be passed is lawmakers should not go out of the country to treat themselves.
Unfortunately, they are the ones that will, put that bill together.
And it's amazing that it has passed the second reading, like, guys.
So I know that this is not even funny at all because, but one thing I would say is that these lawmakers know the truth. They know the truth. And it's just so selfish when you do that because there is a reason and we're not going to nip this in the bud. We're not going to get to the root of the problems. And then we think that this is what will solve the situation. Oh, no.
Of course, we have to get to the root of the matter because I recall COVID period, the situation most of these doctors found themselves. And even nurses, it's not just about doctors alone. So they are also saying that this is discriminatory to them because it is not just doctors that are leaving the country. We have nurses, we have so many practitioners leaving the country. That why is it just doctors?
Bankers are leaving. You call your account manager
he will tell
and
you
then
he's outside the
he
country.
tells you that, oh, you just said that this thing has not been going. My message has been hanging. And then you call and say, I'm so sorry. I'm in class, so I've relocated. I'm no more in night. So, yeah, it has happened.
It would amaze you that the next person beside you is using +07007 to call you. And you guys are just talking. And the funny thing
But
about
the truth, like you rightly mentioned, is we need to get to the root of the matter. Because as a country, we have never achieved the 15% when it comes to our budgeting for the health sector in Nigeria. Now, these people, the working condition is nothing to write home about.
The pay.
Some of them still do not even have jobs. What is the state of our primary health care? So the questions are many, but then are we addressing the root of the matter? Because if this bill, well, I'm sure it's dead on arrival, like they said. It's dead on arrival. So let's quickly move to the Tribune now. We have some stories here. The secret of my great health at 95. Chief Ayo Adebanjo speaks on life as a schoolboy, Zikist, Awist, and Co. Men around me at NTA saw my capacity, not my skirt. Interesting. Mujima Konjola speaking. And land grabbing, Baba Oniles battle Lagos landlords. This is an interesting one. Then Banana Island building collapse. We've discovered one corpse. Lagos State government speaking like we mentioned earlier. Honeypot, yes.
All right, so I do have the Onile, Baba Onile speaking right there. And they started with, it was Agidingbi land tussle in 2018 and Magodo in 2021. It is now the turn of Surulere and Isherioke as land grabbing activities escalated in the Lagos metropolis. In the past 3 weeks, giving all, stakeholders a great concern. And so this actually moved on to, the landowners fighting. And so they're fighting back, realizing they were under siege, the landlords and residents of Isherioke, on the other hand, reportedly mobilized some thugs who launched a counter-attack on the intruding hoodlums, leading to tension all over the community. Cutlasses, knives, stones, and sticks were freely used, and then it went on to say because they got the point of an expert. And so the experts right here, Mr. Femi Oyedele, decried the situation, saying that one main implication of the ugly trend is that the confidence of the people in the Lagos property market would be eroded. He pointed out that the government was yet to provide solutions to Magodo land ownership tussle. This is so because government is using absolute power to oppress the judgment creditors, creditors, he said. And the government's attitude to some of the court cases, he said, meant that foreign investors in property markets would be wary of coming to Lagos and Nigeria by extension. I don't know how, people see that because, this is the real issue right here, and people are having issues, especially when you have already, you think that a land is yours, and then you have, all of a sudden, some people come and then they say that they're Omonile. There is a lot of problems in that sector.
Absolutely. This Onile issue is a major problem or a major challenge in Lagos State with regards to land. And I don't know how the government will have to look into it, where you have spent so much money and done, perhaps you have erected your building to a certain level, you just see some persons from nowhere, it is our land, this and that, and all of it. But we do hope that something will be done in very quickly too. Well, we'll have to go on a short break now. When we return, we'll move to our hot topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.